I'm Tiffany, and today I am doing another movie review. Poo-poo, poo-poo, knocking those movies down left and right. Thank you for joining me today. The movie I am reviewing today is another new movie that just came out. Don't worry, I'm going to do the movie reviews on the older movies that I put in my movie and book hauls. I have them lined up. It's just I wanted to do this one first because I saw it in theaters recently with my parents, and I wanted to do a movie review on it before it completely left my head and went, ba-doo, goodbye, 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 goodbye. That's not fun. That happens to me a lot. And sometimes why I don't have movie reviews up is because I watch so many at once, and then I just get them all confused, so my brain doesn't remember it all. Blah. The movie that I am reviewing today is Atomic Blonde, starring Charlize Theron, the female James Bond. That's what I call it, the female James Bond. Now this movie, I was a little bit hesitant again going in just because this one, I really did get a ton of mixed reviews for it. There were some people who were saying it was really good, and some people who were saying it was not that good. And I didn't know how to feel, but I knew I was going to see it because, like I've said a billion times, I could see it for free because I work at the movie theater, so why not? So I was unsure going into this movie if I was going to like it or not. One of my friends, Aylin, she loves this movie, and she was telling me though that it's one of those movies where you have to watch it multiple times because you get more and more out of it as you continue to watch it. You find little nuances that you missed the first time around, and it's just really cool to see how everything adds up as you keep rewatching it. I kind of wanted to know what you guys thought too, if you feel that way a little bit about it as well. This movie though was very different from what I actually expected it to be. I would say it was a little bit darker than what I thought it was going to be. It never looked like a comedy on the previews, but it didn't look as dark, I guess, as the movie was for me. It's not your typical agent film is what I'd have to say. It's not your typical James Bond kicks butt all the time type of movie. You just gotta watch it to understand what I mean. But overall, I really did enjoy this movie. It was very stylized, which I really liked about it, and it did have a good tone. I will say the pace is a little bit slower than probably what I would have liked, especially since it did advertise itself as a really big action movie. It doesn't have as much action as I think people will expect it to, but it's still a really, really good movie, and the storyline is really good. I really liked it. I definitely say go see it and give it a shot, and again, let me know if you feel like I should watch it twice because you get more out of it the second time around. The cast in here, though, is absolutely amazing. It stars Charlize Theron, who kicks butt in this movie, James McAvoy, who I always love. He's always entertaining. He was in Split recently, one of the new M. Night Shyamalan movies. There's John Goodman, Sofia Boutella, just a bunch of awesome actors. It had an amazing cast in it, so I definitely approve of the cast, and everybody did a fantastic job throughout. If you want the rating, it got a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. That's pretty good. I usually say 7s and above are really good. 8s and above are mind-blowing. 7 and above, pretty good. 8 and above, mind-blowing status. So it's not at mind-blowing status, according to IMDb, but it's still really, really good. I don't know if it's going to drop or not. I think 7 is about accurate, actually. I'd give it about that. For those of you who want a synopsis, so this movie takes place during the Cold War when the Berlin Wall was still up. They're about to actually tear it down at the time of the movie. They send an undercover agent, who is Charlize Theron, into Berlin to try and find this list that happens to be on the loose. And this list has a list of all of the agents that are currently in service right now, which is bad if this list gets out, because falling into the wrong hands, they know who's an agent and who's not. So they send her to Berlin to help David, who's also another agent there looking for the list, try and track it down. Craziness ensues. It's definitely a very complicated movie. You do have to pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you will miss something important. It's not that confusing to follow, personally, I think. I think it's pretty easy to figure out what's going on. It's one of those movies, though, that again doesn't give you all the information right away. It starts out somewhere, get a little bit of information, cuts back, get a little bit more information, cuts back. So it's that type of thing. So you're not going to know everything that happened right off the bat. You might be a little bit confused going in, but if you keep going on that ride, it's all going to make perfect sense. That's really all I can tell you without spoiling you willy-nilly. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the spoilery section. Thank you, non-spoilery people, for joining me. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in every week. Goodbye! Watch the movie and then come back. Mwah! Like I said, definitely very different than what I expected it was going to be. First off, right off the bat, it's not your typical agent movie. Usually in agent movies, what happens is the main agent kicks butt, which Charlize Theron does, but it seems like they're untouchable. James Bond movies, nothing can harm James Bond. He is invincible. Most agents in movies go through a lot of scenarios where they probably should have been killed, and they are not. Automatically, this movie sets it up right off the bat that it's not that type of story. The first time that you meet Charlize Theron's character, Lorraine, is her sitting in a bathtub, all bruised up, and looking like she got hit by a truck. So automatically, you know, she's been through a lot these past 10 days, I guess. A lot happens in 10 days, I guess, in the agency world. It almost was a little bit reminiscent of Charlie Brown trying to kick the football, where something just keeps going awry every single time. She's an awesome agent, and she's good at figuring stuff out, and she's very manipulative, especially as we go along in the story. But at the same time, she does go through a lot, and she gets beaten up a lot. And in some way, I did appreciate that. It's this really strong agent that is really kicking butt and showing the bad guys what's up. But at the same time, she is not invincible. And they show that she gets beaten up pretty badly throughout this movie. I really liked that it wasn't this perfect escape plan. It really was this mess of a mission. James McAvoy, loved him in this. The relationship between him and Charlize Theron was very different than I thought it was going to be again, because for most of the movie, Charlize Theron is trying to kind of uncover what David is doing. She doesn't trust him whatsoever with anything that is going on. They basically spend the movie both trying to go at each other in a way, get information, bust one another, all of that. I thought from the trailers and everything, they were going to be more buddy-buddy in a way and butt heads. You could tell they were going to butt heads, but they'd work together more. Maybe there'd be a betrayal in there, I don't know. But I thought they were going to work together more a whole lot than what they actually did. It was more David being annoying, but also really charming and messing stuff up, while Charlize Theron, Lorraine, was trying to reel it all back in. I laughed hysterically, though, when he called the cops on her. I was just thinking, dude, that's not gonna work out. Have you seen this girl? Look what happened on the car chase at the beginning. She just demolished them. So, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to realize that she is not going to go down easy. John Goodman, it was nice to see him in this movie. I just wish that he was in the movie more, because you find out at the end that he's part of this whole satchel thing, which I am going to get to in a minute. And so at the end, when you find out he's in on it, it's not this huge moment, just because he really wasn't in the movie as much. He's a person that's supposed to be interviewing her about what happened in Berlin, but other than that, you don't really get that much more from him. And then you just see one scene with him actually in Berlin. So I wish they just showed the contact between those two more. Just a little bit more. Not too much, because if you wanted to make it a surprise, then you can't show that they have this super strong relationship throughout. But at least one more scene maybe where they're having an interaction. So at the end, it's like, oh, whoa, he was in on this? Sofia Boutella's character, that was interesting. I liked that storyline. I guess it was just, again, getting a little bit more character development on her, but Sofia Boutella did a really awesome job. She wasn't a great agent, though. Maybe they should have teamed up more. That's what I think bugs me a little bit. Charlize Theron, she was by herself throughout this movie, but there were opportunities for her to team up with people and kick butt and have an awesome fight scene with multiple people. It's really Charlize Theron kicking butt the whole entire time, which is fun. I think that's what I would have loved to see with Sofia Boutella, though, is have this moment of her having her shining moment and kicking butt at the same time. Because you can tell she's strong, and she even threatens David and says, I have information on you, I'm good at playing this game, don't underestimate me. And then he does kill her immediately after her threat. But still, she had potential to be really, really awesome. And she was awesome, she just didn't get a chance to show it before David killed her. So the whole thing with Satchel, the double agent, I really liked that quality of trying to figure out who in the world was Satchel. For a good majority of the movie, you are trying to figure it out, and you want to see that list, especially when David gets it and he didn't tell Lorraine. You want to see the list and see who in the world is Satchel. And it does really good at the beginning of making you think that David is Satchel. But for this type of movie, I actually did guess that it was actually going to be Lorraine, just because the way it was stylized and everything didn't seem like the movie that would make it so obvious that it was David. You have your suspicions from the very beginning when you meet him that he is Satchel. And you think he is. And it makes sense because he refuses to show the list. He threatens that he knows who Satchel is. He's making all these deals with other people. It seems like he is Satchel. But then you're thinking and sitting there and going, this is too obvious for this type of movie. So immediately I went to Lorraine because that's the only other person that could be Satchel that we know, unless they were going to somehow make him one of the agents that was interviewing her. But I really highly doubted that. So for me, when it was finally revealed that she was Satchel, it wasn't that big of a moment for me. It was still satisfying though. I was like, there's Satchel. There's Satchel. She's awesome. She kicks butt. Double agent status. So I was still satisfied by the reveal, but I couldn't tell if the movie intended for it to be a surprise or if you were supposed to kind of catch on and feel like you're in on it with Charlize Theron. Because I felt like that a little bit when she was doing the interview, that I was more in on it with her and that she knew more stuff than what she was letting on. Which was still really, really cool, but I just couldn't tell if the movie was going for a surprise or not. The whole sequence, though, with the guy who memorized the list, that was absolutely insane. It was my favorite part, but it was so insane. And that's where I meant that she didn't seem invincible. Don't get me wrong, there was some stuff that she probably shouldn't have survived, but at the same time, she didn't come out unscathed. You saw the bruises and the punches and all of it was just bleh at once. The part with the umbrellas, that was so cool. I was like, let's go. That was awesome. I liked that. But of course, David had to ruin everything. He had to shoot the guy. That was so agonizing because you know it went so wrong that he probably died, but you didn't know when he died. And that last part when she's trying to get him out of the car was just so sad. I loved that whole sequence because it was just action-packed and intense, and you didn't know if she was going to make it or not. And just one thing kept happening after another, and it was just punch after punch after punch. It was intense. I wonder if they're going to make a second one of these though, because for me, it kind of leaves it on the cliffhanger. I do like that even though you find out she's the double agent, you still are rooting for her a lot. I love Charlize Theron. Go Charlize Theron. That is really all I have to say about this movie. I do think this is a really great movie. You should definitely go check it out when you get a chance. It's definitely worth your time. It is very intricate. Like I said, you do have to actually pay attention. But it's still overall a really, really, really great movie. And I might watch it again to see all the little nuances that I might have missed in there, like Aylin suggested. Thank you for joining me. If you have any other book or movie recommendations, you can leave them in the comments below. Have an awesome day, evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day you're watching this, and don't forget to be awesome. Goodbye! Whoa!